Le Charme, Ernest Chausson. Le Charme, or The Charm, is a poem written by Armand Silvestre. Armand Silvestre was a French poet whose work was very often used as lyrics for many different French composers. This particular piece of Silvestre's was a part of a work called La Chanson des Heureuses, Poésies Nouvelles, meaning The Song of the Hours, New Poems. This collection was published in 1878 with the help of Alphonse Lemaire and Gervais Charpentier, who published and edited a lot of Silvestre's work. Chausson composed a musical setting of this poem in 1879, just 1 year after it was published. In fact, this song is one of his earliest pieces. At the time, he was studying at the Conservatoire de Paris with Jules Massenet, the professor of counterpoint, fugue, and composition. He happened to be a fan of Silvestre, and it is widely recognized that Chausson set this particular poem to music because of Massenet's love for it. Chausson had also just started taking classes with César Franck. Because this composition was one made so early in his career, its style was heavily influenced by Massenet, who was revered for his shapely melody lines and elegant harmonies, although he did, of course, put his own distinct voice into it. This kind of writing proved to be somewhat simple for Chausson, as shown by his later compositions, which really emphasized his love of the dramatic and chromatic. This early style, however, does have a certain innocent and fanciful charm that serves this particular piece well. Chausson used the music he was composing to support the story the text creates. The poem tells the story of someone in love. However, this person does not understand that they are in love. They're describing their feelings and expressing confusion over what these feelings could mean. The piece poignantly ends with them realizing that they're in love, but only after seeing their object of affection's first tear. The music aids in the performance of this poem, working in tandem with the text to intensify the emotions the singer is expressing. A simple example of this is in the fact that, most of the time, the accompaniment is moving in the same direction as the melody, directly supporting the movement. Almost note by note, the most prominent part of the accompaniment follows the direction that the vocalist is singing. This is usually the slower part, since one part is usually in quarter notes, while the other part is arpeggiating eighths. A good example of this is measures 5 and 6, although it is found many times in the piece. Another evidence to this point is Chausson's use of text painting. He has the music mirror what the words are saying, in style, motion, and expression. Most of the piece is made up of descending or falling scales and arpeggios in the vocal line, indicating the singer is falling in love. Additionally, he uses slight modulations to illustrate the singer's circular thinking. Although some may argue that these modulatory moments are merely Chausson showing his affinity for accidentals, each of these small moments represent a change in the singer's thinking, shifting the feel of the music enough to merit an alteration in the way it's being sung, even though they pass by relatively quickly. Just as the modulations come and go rapidly, so does the accompaniment. The piano part has at least one hand throughout most of the piece moving in arpeggiated eighth notes until the very last section where the singer has realized they are in love and they can stop searching for an explanation for these feelings. This fast movement creates a sense of anxiously searching, frantically thinking of possibilities, and really helps the high point of the piece, where the notes slow down more, stand out. That frustration in the search is represented in the aforementioned high point. The highest place melodically, which is en répondre, meaning answer, coincides directly with the highest place dramatically. In measures 15 and 16, this character is at the height of their confusion, wanting answers desperately. The lyrics here are translated to, "I could not, at first, answer," demonstrating that frustration. Chausson provides the perfect way to express that through the melody. It drives hastily upward to one of the highest notes in the piece. The accompaniment also helps build to this high point. The chords progress from 6 to 2 to 3, then back to 2, then 5, then 1 for a brief moment. He reaches the dramatic peak and creates the most tension of the phrase by resting on a 5-7. The key changes are another testament to the dramatized climax. Even though the piece never technically changes keys, there are moments where Chausson uses accidentals to make a few measures at a time sound like they've modulated just a little, sometimes a few times in a row. He always ends up bringing it back to F major again. In regards to this build-up, there are lots of little modulations happening right before. Starting in measure 9, it goes from sounding like D major to D minor, briefly in measure 11, then to G minor in measure 13, then C major leading up to measure 16, which is the high point. Once this point is reached, the piano plays a B flat while every other part, including the voice, is holding or resting. This leads our ear back into F major, which Chausson stays in for most of the rest of the piece. Something interesting about the melody line of this piece is that it neither begins nor ends on Do. In fact, it rarely goes to Do, and when it does, it never stays there for too long. This is surprising, mostly because the melody is not particularly adventurous in many other ways. It's mostly steps, the rhythms aren't very far-fetched, with the exception of a few meter changes, and it's not actually that independent from the accompaniment. They often move together, and the piano is very supportive to the voice. The accompaniment even doesn't often find a resting place or a home. It begins on 5, blazes right past the tonic chord, and keeps descending, using lots of 5s, about half as many 1s, and a surprising number of 3s, 4s, and 6s. However, this makes the ending so much sweeter. Although the melody doesn't end on Do, it does end on So, a solid note in the 1 chord. This ending provides a sense of completion, but also accents the text, which translates to, "I didn't know I loved you until I saw your first tear." There's a kind of bittersweet sentiment that is echoed in the melody. The accompaniment, though, is the thing that really brings it home, with a ritardando into a big, bold, perfect, authentic cadence, at least doubling, sometimes tripling every note in each chord. The fact that this piece seems to hop and skip around Do until the very end means that the ending is more fulfilling and really makes the audience member feel a certain sense of completion. This light yet interesting Chausson piece really highlights his variety and talent, even from a relatively young age. The use of accidentals to imply small modulations, the incredible and intricate text painting, and the cohesion between the melody and the piano accompaniment are all tools that Chausson uses to weave together story and song. In these small and seemingly simple art songs, one of the best ways to leave an impression is through the combination of an intriguing story being told and, often more importantly, an accompaniment that reflects the text in a way that is supportive and intelligent, not distracting, but still compelling on its own. These two different mediums work best to convey emotion when used in conjunction with one another, and Chausson impressively married the two, making this an exciting piece to perform, even in these more modern times.